I took 100 real Band 7, 8 and 9 essays from our VIP students and found the 50 most common words used in them. You see, if we can find the 50 most common words, we can then learn great synonyms for each word and massively boost our writing scores quickly and easily. And as my gift to you, I've added all 50 words and their synonyms and lots of words not included in the video in this PDF download you can get in the video. So the first word is people. We're all people. This is one of the most common words in English, but relying on it too much can make your essay sound a little bit basic, and you're going to be using people all throughout your essay. Knowing synonyms shows that you can choose the right word from the right context, depending on what type of people you're talking about. So here's an example sentence. An easy synonym to use instead of people would be individuals. For example, many individuals believe that the government should be solely responsible. Another synonym you could use is the public. So the public often believes that the government should be solely responsible. This refers to a collective group of people. The next important word, number 2, is important. So you'll often need to argue that a point is important or something is important. However, important is often overused in essays because it's such a common word. Using stronger, more descriptive synonyms will make your argument more persuasive. So here's an example sentence. So a synonym that we could use is crucial. It is crucial for young people to learn a second language. This implies it's a decisive point for future success. Or we could use vital. It is vital for young people to learn a second language. This suggests it is necessary or essential for life or success. The third most common word was good. Good can be quite vague, especially for academic writing. What does good actually mean? You want to be more specific if you want one of the higher scores. So here's an example sentence. And instead of good, we could say beneficial. Spending time in nature has a beneficial effect on mental health. So it clearly states it provides an advantage or it provides help. Or we could say positive. Spending time in nature has a positive effect on mental health. So it's a direct and academic sounding alternative to just saying good. The next common word is develop. This is a versatile verb used to talk about progress or growth or creating something new. It's excellent for discussing solutions or skills or changes, especially economic changes. So here's an example sentence. So we could use cultivate. Countries need to cultivate more sustainable sources of energy. Suggests gradual, careful development. Or we could use the word foster. Countries need to foster more sustainable sources of energy. This implies encouraging something to grow. So you'll notice that there are very specific meanings to a lot of these synonyms. Big mistake, which we'll talk about later in the video, is just switching them out without really thinking about what they mean. So be very careful not to just memorize lists. Always do what we suggest at the end of the video, which is learning them properly and really remembering them and being able to use them. So the next common word is a verb, increase. So you need to know this because it's essential for both task 1, describing data, and task 2, discussing problems or solutions. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the word boost here. The government plans to boost investment in the public transport system. This is a more stronger dynamic word. Or raise. The government plans to raise investment in the public transport system. This would indicate that it will start a new initiative to increase investment. Now, many of you might be thinking, well, boost, raise, that's a really simple word. Will replacing a simple word with a simple word actually help me improve my score? Well, a big mistake that I see a lot of students making is they think that they need to always change the word to something impressive, something high level. Remember, the examiner is looking for a range. So if you are just repeating the same word again and again and again, you're not showing any range. But if you are changing it to something new, even if it is a simple word, you are showing more range. Don't be afraid to change it to something that you think is quite simple. But if you're still worried about that, we have lots of advanced vocabulary in our list. It doesn't only include the 50 common words and the synonyms that we include in the video. We've also included lots of extra, more advanced synonyms. If you want that, just go to the description, click on the link, and you can download it. It's our gift to you. So the next common word that comes up a lot in task 2 is government. The government is a key stakeholder in almost every common topic that comes up in task 2. Education, environment, health, these are topics that come up again and again and again. And at the heart of those is often the government. So you need to use synonyms to avoid repeating the government in every sentence. So here's an example sentence. So we could change the government to the authorities. The authorities are responsible for creating policies. This is a general term for the people in power that make up the government. Or we could use the state. The state is responsible for creating policies. This refers to the governing body of a nation. Number 7 is society. So why would you need to know this? Well, this word is at the heart of many essay questions about social trends, culture, community issues. Here's an example sentence. So instead of society, we could say the community. Modern technology has had a profound impact on the community. It can be used for society in general or a more local group like your local area. Again, always think about the context that you are using these in. Or you could use the phrase, the general populace. Modern technology has had a profound impact on the general populace. This is a more formal academic term for the population. But it's important to note that we're changing one word to 3 words. A lot of students that I see think that, I can only change one word to one word when you can actually use one word and change it to 2 words or 3 words like the general populace. Number 8 is technology, a very frequent topic in IELTS, and being able to discuss it with a varied vocabulary is a huge advantage. Here's an example sentence. Possible synonym is the advancement of innovation has transformed the way we work. Innovation. Innovation is more focusing on new ideas and new inventions. So again, always thinking about the context. Don't just blindly swap these out. Or we could use digital tools. Digital tools have transformed the way we work and communicate. This is more specific. It's good when talking about computers or apps or the internet or now AI, but all of those would be digital tools. Next is the environment. So it's another classic common IELTS topic. You need to be able to discuss things like nature, pollution, global warming, conservation, things like that. Here's an example sentence. So instead of the environment, we might be able to use the natural world. Protecting the natural world is a challenge that requires global cooperation. Or ecosystems. Protecting our ecosystems is a challenge that requires global cooperation. This is more scientific, referring to the complex network of living organisms. Or we could say the planet. Protecting the planet is a challenge that requires global cooperation, used to emphasize a global scale. The next common word that we saw again and again in these essays was children. Of course, common topics are education, family, social development. These are all common topics. Here's an example sentence. So this might be a controversial one, but we could use youngsters instead of children. It is vital that youngsters are taught about healthy eating, slightly less formal. It's totally acceptable to use this in IELTS speaking or in general training, task 1 if we were writing informally. A nice way to talk about children as a whole, any age, is to talk about the youth or young people. It is vital that the youth are taught about healthy eating habits. So this refers to the whole group. Or we could use minors. It is vital that minors are taught about healthy eating habits. Just make sure that you spell it this way, because if you spell it the wrong way, you're talking about someone who digs for stuff underground. So I'll quickly go through these because I know this creates a lot of discussion in the comments. Teenagers, adolescents, only talk about this if it is between the ages of 13 and 17 in most countries. Infants are only really babies, so in the first year of their life, say, and toddlers is, 2 or 3 years old. If you misuse these, like if you're talking about a 13-year-old and then you write toddlers, just because you've used a synonym, that doesn't automatically boost your score. This is a really good example of where it can actually lower your score. And I've had students argue with me and say like, I've used an advanced word, I've used a synonym. Yeah, but you've used it incorrectly, all right? So always make sure that you're not just using synonyms, you're using the appropriate, accurate synonym. The next is students. This is essential for any essay on the topic of education, from primary education all the way up to third level university education. So here's an example sentence. So instead of students, we could use learners. Universities should provide more mental health support for their learners. This is a broader term that emphasizes the act of learning, so they're actually learning something. Or we could use pupils. Schools should provide more support for their pupils, but typically this is used for school-age children, not third level, not university students. We wouldn't really refer to those as pupils. For university, we might use scholars. The university provides funding for its most promising scholars. So it's not just used for university third level education, it's more high achieving or academic students, often at a higher level. Number 12 is a simple word, but a very, very common one, improve. So this is a core verb for suggesting solutions or discussing positive developments. Here's an example sentence, and we could use the synonym enhance. Governments must take steps to enhance air quality. This means to intensify or increase the quality of something. Or, and I know this comes up a lot in Band 9 lists, ameliorate. Governments must take steps to ameliorate the problem of poor air quality. So this is a high level, formal word meaning to make something that is bad better. But the problem that I see with this word, the reason why I included it, was students will often misspell this word. It doesn't matter if one letter is out of place, it's a spelling mistake. That will lower your score. The examiner doesn't look at your essay and say, oh, they used the word ameliorate, but even though they spelled it incorrectly, I'm still going to give them a higher score for that word. That's not how examiners think about it. Examiners think that you've memorized this word, you really don't know how to use it, and they will give you generally a lower score if they start to see that in your essay. Number 13 is effective. So you use this when you propose a solution in task 2, or you need to argue that something will be effective. Here's an example. And we could use the synonym productive. Stricter penalties are a productive deterrent to crime. And the word productive would suggest that it produces the desired results. So you wouldn't use this if you weren't sure if it was actually good or not. Or we could use the word potent. Stricter penalties are a potent deterrent to crime. This is a very powerful word and suggests that it is a strong deterrent. It has a strong effect. It's successful. Now, many of you might be asking in the comments, well, what about this word? Could we use this word? Could we use this word? You need to get into the habit of answering that question yourself. Not that I don't want to help you. I'm making a very, very long video trying to help you with this, but you need to become an independent student with this type of thing. The easy way, if you have a word and you're not sure, is to go and look it up in the dictionary and look at the actual meaning. Does it actually match the word that you're using? If not, then don't use it. Or if it's a slightly different meaning, can you use it in a different context? Number 14 is necessary. So it's used to express that something is required or must be done. It's a strong way to frame a solution or a duty. Here's an example, and a synonym would be essential. It is essential for individuals to take personal responsibility. It means absolutely required. It's fundamental. Or we could use the synonym imperative. It is imperative that individuals take personal responsibility. This is stronger, very, very strong formal word suggesting urgency. It's important. Number 15 is different. This is useful for making comparisons and contrasts, which is a key skill in task 1 and task 2. Here's an example sentence, and we could use the synonym various. There are various approaches to solving this problem. It's a very common and effective synonym for this. Or we could say diverse. There are diverse approaches to solving this problem. Emphasizes a wide range of distinct types. Number 16 is work, the noun version of work. So we talk about the world of careers, work, employment. This is a very common topic in task 2, but might also come up in task 1. Here's an example sentence. Instead of work, we could use employment. Finding fulfilling employment is a major goal, a more formal academic term. Or career. Building a fulfilling career is a major goal. Implies a long-term professional journey, a career. A job could be short-term, employment could be short-term, a career is more long-term. 17 is companies. So it's essential for discussing topics related to business, the economy, globalization, maybe marketing. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym corporations. Corporations have a social responsibility. Typically refers to larger companies. A company can be very, very small, like IELTS Advantage, or a corporation could be very, very big, like Google. Or we could use the synonym businesses. Businesses have a social responsibility. This is a more general term for any commercial organization. 18 is individual, the noun of individual. This is a formal and academic alternative to people or person. It's used to discuss personal responsibility, rights, and the role of people within a society. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym person. The rights of each person must be balanced. This when we're talking singular. So this is a good example of when you're changing words, you need to be aware of the grammar of that word and the words around it. So don't just blindly change synonyms. Always think of the grammar. Again, a general rule is if you're not sure, don't use it. Or we could use citizen. The rights of the citizen must be balanced. This emphasizes the person's role within a society. 19 is global. So topics like environment, economy, culture often discuss things at a global scale. So this adjective is crucial to know, and these synonyms are crucial to know. Here's an example sentence. So synonym is worldwide. Climate change is a worldwide issue. So this is a direct and perfectly suitable synonym. Or we could use the word international. Climate change is an international issue, used when comparing or involving two or more nations. 20 is modern. It's used to contrast the present day with the past. It's a key word for essays on change or tradition or technology, how things have changed over the years. Here's an example sentence. A synonym is contemporary. Contemporary lifestyles are often more sedentary. This is a more formal academic sounding word. Or we could use present day. Present day lifestyles are often more sedentary, a clear and effective alternative. A very, very simple word, but a very common word, many. So this is a very common quantifier. While perfectly fine to use, don't worry about using it once in your essay. You won't lose marks or anything, especially if it's accurate and appropriate, but you might have to use it again and again. So using synonyms helps you. Here's an example sentence. So we could use numerous. Numerous experts argue that automation will lead to job losses, or a large number of. A large number of experts argue that automation will lead to job losses. 22 is help. Help me get through this list quicker. A simple but common verb. Used in formal academic writing, it's often best to use a more sophisticated alternative to sound more authoritative, more academic. Here's an example sentence. So we could use assist. Volunteering can assist students in developing a sense of responsibility, a more formal alternative. Or aid. Volunteering can aid the development of a student's sense of responsibility. Another formal choice, often used with in or in noun form. There are also some other synonyms you could use, and I've put those into the PDF for you. 23 is provide. This is a strong academic verb for talking about giving, supplying, or making something available. It's excellent for essays about solutions. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym supply. Libraries supply access to a vast range of information, and this implies that we're fulfilling a need of some sort. Or we could use offer. Libraries offer access to a vast range of information. This suggests making something available for people to accept or reject. 24 is believe, used for introducing an opinion or argument. Using alternatives can show the strength of your conviction and add academic weight to your claims. Here's an example sentence. So you could use the synonym argue. I would argue that censorship in the media is sometimes justified. So this is a bit stronger and suggests that you have reasons and evidence. Or contend. Some contend that censorship in the media is sometimes justified. This is a lot more formal for putting forward an argument. 25, create. A powerful verb for discussing the act of making or bringing something into existence. So talking about jobs, opportunities, to government policies, art, there's so many things. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym generate. The government should implement policies to generate more jobs. Often used for things like jobs, revenue, electricity, stuff like that. Or establish. The government should establish a program to create more jobs. This implies setting something up on a firm or long-term basis. 26, education. As a core IELTS topic, I'd say education and health are the two most common Task 2 topics. So you need a range of words to discuss it without sounding repetitive. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the word schooling. Access to quality schooling is crucial for a nation's progress. Often refers more specifically to the instruction received at school. Learning. Lifelong learning is crucial for personal and professional development. This is a broader concept that includes self-study and experience, not just going to school. So again, be careful with context. 27, again, extremely common topic, health. Here's an example sentence. So we could use well-being. An individual's diet has a direct impact on their overall well-being. Again, this is a broader term. It includes mental health, social health, public health, not just physical. Or we could use physical condition. An individual's diet has a direct impact on their physical condition. More specific, obviously, to the body. So again, I think those two show the importance of context. I know I'm repeating myself over and over and over again, but when you have looked at as many essays as I have and seen as many mistakes as I have, you would be repeating yourself too. 28 is a lot of people's favorite word, family. The family is a fundamental social unit and a common topic in questions about society, traditions, but also a lot of questions in Task 2 are about children and child development. Here's an example sentence. So instead of family, we might use the household. The average household now contains fewer people than it did 50 years ago. So this refers to the people living in one house, not your broader family that may be spread out throughout the entire world. Or we could use domestic unit. The domestic unit has changed significantly over the last 50 years. This is a very formal academic sociological term for the family and household. I wouldn't use this probably in the speaking test unless it's in a very formal academic context that we're talking about, but it's perfectly fine to use in the right context in Task 2 writing. 29, the best people. Teachers, of course. So this is essential vocabulary for anything about education, and as I said, very, very common topic. Here's an example sentence. Teachers often like to be called educators. Good educators are essential for a positive learning environment. This is a broader, more formal term and makes teachers sound smarter than many of them are. In the comments, I'm just joking. It's a joke. Tutors. Many students hire private tutors to help them with difficult subjects. So this refers to a specific type of teacher. A tutor is more someone who teaches individuals or maybe small groups, so normally outside of school. So again, be very careful with context. Or instead of teachers, we might use instructors. Driving instructors must be patient and clear. Instructors are more talking about someone who teaches a practical skill, like a driving instructor, a piano instructor. Again, context is king. Number 30 is adults. So used to discuss people who are no longer children. But we often use this to contrast children with adults. It's essential for essays talking about education, work, and life stages. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the term grown-ups. Many grown-ups are now returning to university. This is slightly less formal, but widely understood and acceptable. Debatable, I've spoken to a bunch of examiners about this. The vast majority of them said it would be perfectly fine if they read that. Some of them, 10%, said no, don't use that in Task 2. You guys can make the decision. Up to you. You're an adult. Maybe a safer choice would be mature individuals. Mature individuals often have different learning needs compared to younger students. It's a formal and respectful way to refer to adults. 31 is social. This is a key adjective describing anything related to society, community, and the interaction between individuals within societies, communities. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym communal. The rise of social media has impacted communal interaction. So it's relating specifically to community. Or societal. Societal norms have changed dramatically in recent decades. A very formal adjective relating to society as a whole. Or we could keep it simple, public. His behavior in a public setting was unacceptable, relating to people in general. And that brings us on to 32, public adjective. Used to describe services and spaces that are for everyone, often provided by the government. Here's an example sentence. So instead of public, we could talk about state-funded or state-run. Investment in state-run transport is essential. So this specifies that it is funded and operated by the state. Again, need to understand the difference between public as in people in general and public as in for everyone funded by the state. Instead of this, we could use the synonym civic. Civic duty includes voting and respecting the law. So this is relating to a city or a town or a state or a county, and specifically the duties of the citizens. So we all have a civic duty. Or keep it simple with community. The community swimming pool is open to everyone. This emphasizes that it serves the local community. So if you're confused about that, a good way to think about the difference is to think about public versus private, all right? Private swimming pool in a hotel, in a 5-star hotel, is not for everybody. The public swimming pool, anybody can go there within reason, and it's funded by the state, the government. 33, local. So it's an adjective to specify a particular area, neighborhood, or region, often in contrast to national or global. A really good way to remember vocabulary, and we'll talk about this at the end of the video, and there's a lot in the PDF about how to remember vocabulary, is to actually use the opposite. All right, what is the opposite of this word? So synonyms, the opposite of a synonym is an antonym. So local and global are antonyms. Here's an example sentence. So instead of local, we could use community-based. Supporting community-based businesses is beneficial. This emphasizes that the business is part of and serves the local community. Or neighborhood. The Neighborhood Watch Scheme helped to reduce crime, relating to a very small, specific residential area where people live. 34 is time. So time is an abstract concept, of course, but it's central to many essays, talking about free time, changes over time. Time is in everything. So you often need synonyms instead of just having time 20 times in your essay. Here's an example sentence. So this is highly context specific, but you could talk about leisure hours if you're talking about free time. People today seem to have fewer leisure hours than in the past. Specifically, we're talking about leisure, non-work time. Or we could talk about eras. In a bygone era, people had more free time. This is used to refer to a distinct period in history. 35, life. It's a very, very broad term, of course, but making it more specific is a good skill. So you're showing the examiner, all right, I know this is a broader term, I understand the context, so I'm going to make this more specific by using a synonym. Here's an example sentence. So instead of life, we could use existence. Technology has changed almost every aspect of modern existence. This is a more formal, more philosophical term, but within this context, it would be fine to use. Or we could use something like way of living or lifestyles. Technology has changed almost every aspect of modern lifestyles. This focuses on the manner in which people live. 36 is experience, the noun of experience. This can refer to an event that you've lived through, or more commonly in IELTS, the knowledge and skill gained from doing something. Here's an example sentence. So we could use practical knowledge. Most employers look for candidates with practical knowledge, highlights the hands-on aspect from doing something. Or expertise. Most employers look for candidates with expertise in the field. This is a stronger word implying a high level of skill. 37 is skills. This is absolutely essential for topics on education and employment and skills, obviously. Here's an example sentence. We could use the synonym ability or abilities. The education system should focus on teaching practical abilities. This is a general synonym. Or competencies. The education system should focus on developing core competencies. This is a formal, more business-oriented word for skills needed to do a job. Or a more higher level one, prowess. He was admired for his academic prowess. This means great skill or great expertise, like tippy top. 38 is information. So this is central to discussing things like media, the internet, education, technology. Here's an example sentence. A synonym would be data. The internet allows for the instant sharing of data across the globe. Often implies raw facts, figures, statistics, stuff like that. Just be careful with the singular of data is not data, it is datum. Data is plural. Or knowledge. The internet allows for the instant sharing of knowledge across the globe. This implies a more organized form of information or a more understood form of information. 39, community refers to a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics in common. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym society. Public libraries are vital for a well-functioning society. This is a broader term and refers to people in a country or region. Or we might use a more formal term like populace. The local populace can benefit from public libraries. This is very formal for the inhabitants of an area. 40, nearly there, economic. So a crucial adjective for discussing topics related to the economy, finance, trade, business, not just task 2, but might come up in task 1, academic. Here's an example sentence. First synonym is financial. The government's main goal is to ensure financial stability. This is related to monetary policy, money management. Again, can't be used every single time. Or we could use a more specific term if it's appropriate, like monetary. The central bank sets monetary policy, such as interest rates, specifically related to the money of the country. Again, if you're not sure, either learn it properly or don't use it. 41 is personal, so not personnel, personal, the adjective, for something related to or affecting a single individual. Here's an example sentence. So the synonym we could use here is individual. The choice to have children is a deeply individual decision, a direct and formal synonym. Or private. The choice to have children is a private matter. Emphasizes that it is not for public consumption. It's nothing to do with anybody else's business. 42, national, describes something related to an entire nation as opposed to local, which would be much smaller, or global, which would be much bigger, obviously. Here's an example sentence. Synonym we could use here would be nationwide. The government announced nationwide lockdowns. Remember that? That was fun. Means extending across the entire nation. Or domestic. Domestic policy focuses on issues within the country, so used to contrast with foreign or international. 43, significant. So this is more powerful, more academic than important or big. It means something is large or important enough to be worthy of people's attention. Here's an example sentence. So we could use substantial. There has been a substantial increase in the use of renewable energy. Suggests a large amount or size. So very applicable to task 1 academic here. Or considerable. There has been a considerable increase in the use of renewable energy. Another strong word for large in amount. You're still here? Just go and download it and read them. It's much faster. And then I won't have to make the rest of this video. Just download it. For those that want to continue listening to me speaking, 44, possible. Used to talk about whether something can be done. It's key for discussing solutions in task 2. You've heard me say that a few times in this video. Solutions are not only in problems and solutions essays, but many, many types of essays. You will discuss solutions or suggest solutions. Here's an example sentence. A possible synonym might be feasible. It is feasible to reduce pollution if we take collective action. This means possible and practical to do easily or conveniently. A very, very common word I see in task 2 is viable. This is not a financially viable solution. This means capable of working successfully, often used in a business or practical context. 45, available, describes whether a resource, service, or product can be used or obtained. Here's an example sentence. We might use accessible. Not enough funding is accessible for arts and culture. Implies it is easy to get or use. Or obtainable. Not enough funding is obtainable for arts and culture. A formal word for able to be got. 46, successful. This video better be successful, the amount of time that it's taken. Describes the achievement of a desired aim or result. Essential for evaluating solutions or outcomes. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the synonym fruitful. The discussion was very fruitful and we came up with many new ideas. So this is talking about when something produces good results. It was productive. or prosperous. The business became very prosperous, used for especially financial success or business success, or the prosperity of a nation or flourishing in general. Popular, number 47, I hope this video is popular, means liked or enjoyed by many people. But with this word popular, be very, very careful not to mix this up with common or widespread. I remember driving through Ho Chi Minh City with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. We were in traffic jams. She said, oh, traffic jams are very popular in Saigon. Popular means lots of people like it. Common means that it happens all the time. Something can be very common, like traffic jams, but not popular. Here's an example sentence. An easy synonym is widespread. The use of streaming services has become widespread, means found or distributed over a large area or number of people. Or we could use possibly prevalent. This belief is more prevalent among younger generations, means widespread in a particular area or at a particular time or amongst a particular group of people. 48, common. It is not common to make videos this long. Describe something that occurs often or exists in large numbers. It's a fundamental word for describing trends and just situations in general. Here's an example sentence. So we could use the word widespread. Traffic congestion is a widespread problem in most major cities. Or to be a little bit fancier, ubiquitous. Smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. Be very careful that you know how to spell ubiquitous. If you're unsure, just use a simpler version like frequent. Car accidents are a frequent occurrence on this road, happening often. So if the examiner sees ubiquitous in one essay and it's spelled incorrectly or it's used inappropriately, and they see a simpler word like frequent and it's spelled correctly and used correctly and everything's good, this essay generally will get a higher score than this essay. Nearly there. Second to last one, 49, general. This refers to a whole class of things or what is true for most people or in most situations. Again, I often use this, or I see students using this in introductions and conclusions. Here's an example sentence. We could use overall or broadly. Overall opinion is that taxes are too high, so considering everything. Or widespread. There is widespread agreement that taxes are too high. Yes, they are in this country. Don't move to the UK. And finally, number 50, we made it. More, comparative version, and you won't get any more from this video apart from this. So we use this word to form comparatives of many adjectives and adverbs and to quantify nouns. Using alternatives can make your writing more dynamic. Here's an example sentence. So instead of more, we could use greater. We need to put greater effort into protecting the environment. A more formal and emphatic choice. Or we could use additional. We need to provide additional funding for schools. We used to talk about adding to what is already there. Yay, we did it, but there's more to come. Don't worry. So I told you at the start of the video that there's a big mistake. So before you go, let me tell you the biggest mistake you can make with these words. So when I first started teaching IELTS many years ago, like most IELTS teachers, when I first started teaching, I would give my students lists of vocabulary because that's what students want. And I thought I was helping students, but it actually lowered their score. And we talk about that in here, actually. There's a big difference between knowing words and actually being able to use words. So often you'll hear students saying like, I know that word, I know what it means, but I can't use that word. If you're worried about making these mistakes, don't worry, because we have this video for you. This video is going to show you how Band 8 and 9 students not only know vocabulary, but remember it and use it properly on test day. So if you're worried about that and you want to improve your score, make sure you watch this next video.